In the world we live in today, we encounter problems that eventually lead to fighting.
But across our oceans, there's a conflict between two parties of people that is leading to things like assassinations, kidnappings, and fighting amongst people who were once friends with each other.
A place that was once burdened with a civil war where people who walked amongst each other now fought against one another. This place is in the country of Lebanon.
The conflict that has emerged in recent years involves two places, Syria and Lebanon. At the moment, Syria is in disarray because of the civil war happening in their country. But that is not the problem we are talking about.
The problem we are talking about involves fighting from the Syrian civil war, which has spilled over into Lebanon, and the desire for Syria to have control over Lebanon.
Before this conflict surfaced, Lebanon was burdened with a civil war of their own. In an effort to assist certain parties in Lebanon, the president of Syria at the time, Hafez al-Assad, sent Syrian troops to Lebanon to fight PLO forces, a political and military organization formed in 1964 to unite various groups of Palestinian Arab groups and ultimately lead to the independence of the State of Palestine.
With Syrian forces aiding in the fight, violence escalated until the ceasefire agreement, which calls for a temporary stoppage of a war in which each side agrees to suspend aggressive actions that were made. This led into Syrian troops permanently stationed in Lebanon.
Now let's get back to the conflict in present-day Lebanon. Syrian forces have left Lebanon after 29 years of being in the country. Their departure from the country was a result of the people of Lebanon wanting control over their own country. This dispute has resulted in groups who are pro-Syrian or pro-Lebanon, both of the same country, who want to have control over their own country, and some want the Syrian government to remain in the country.
Again, the conflict going on is between the people of Lebanon, who have segregated themselves into two groups, pro-Syrian and pro-Lebanon. The conflict has caused violence throughout Lebanon in the cities such as Beirut, the Lebanese village of Zayda, Tripoli, Sidon, Saida, Akar, and Aza.
Due to the fighting, things like murders, assassinations, people being wounded, kidnappings, and also the former Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafik Hariri, being killed in a bombing. Pressure for Syria to leave grew after the assassination of Hariri. But with all the commotion, Lebanon is actually winning the fight. The reason they are winning is because the Syrian forces have left the country. The tension is still strong between both parties, but Lebanon is closer to gaining control of the country that is rightfully theirs. A solution to this conflict would involve the Syrian government going back to Syria and letting the people of Lebanon run their own country. This conflict that is going on between Syria and Lebanon is a person versus person conflict. It is considered person versus person because there are people who are against each other, some involved in the civil war in Syria and some in Lebanon. It could also be a person versus society conflict because, for example, government officials such as the president or prime minister could want one thing, while the entire community that they lead could want something else. The conflict going on in Lebanon is a result of people wanting so much control over something that is not truly theirs. It has caused a substantial amount of damage and continues to do so till this day. Many innocent people have been hurt due to people's decisions, and also people not always wanting the same thing.
This conflict is not only affecting the people fighting against each other physically, but the people who are a part of both Syria and Lebanon.